So, if you've been with us for a while, you'll remember that last year around this time, I spoke with Amber Hurdle. She's a global brand expert, a really dynamic keynote speaker, and I say that from experience. I've seen her speak multiple times, and she's one of the top ranked thought leaders in her field. And I talked to her about how AI was starting to shape the way we approach branding and leadership in our industry. That episode turned out to be one of the most talked about interviews of the year. Amber is back today, and a lot has changed in the AI landscape in just 12 months. And in fact, at the end of the podcast last time, I said we should meet up again in a year's time and see what's changed. So here we are. And today we're catching up on how she's evolved her thinking and what's been shifting in the way she uses AI in her business. And I also want to find out from Amber what she sees on the horizon for AI in our industry. So we're going to explore how she's helping clients to refine their message and avoid that robot chat, and talking about how we've got to keep the human in the loop and turn AI into a true strategic advantage rather than any sort of crutch. So this one's full of insights, it's full of energy, and of course, no nonsense wisdom we've come to expect from Amber Hurdle. Let's jump in. So I am super happy to have back with me once again Amber Hurdle from Amber Hurdle Consulting. It's, I think, fourth time that you've been with us, Amber, and the last time was about a year ago, and we talked AI then, and we're going to talk AI and a bunch of other stuff today. So thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me back on. You're like one of my favorite podcasters.
Oh, that means a lot to me, because if you'd said that 11 years ago, and I'd said, but I am the only podcaster.
Right.
And now I think there's something like 120 podcasts on short-term rentals right now.
There are. I have a list of them. I know because I make sure all of my customers get on them if they can.
Yes, there are now so many. So yes, you
But
said,
you are the OG.
oh,
And
thank you so much.
in case the audience hasn't watched other episodes that I've been on, I know I've said this every time, but because I was a podcaster and we were in that same space at the same time, I knew Heather. She was like in some weird industry that I didn't know anything about. And she was like the only podcaster there. And I was like, wow, look at her go. And we were all just, who's this Heather Bear person doing all this craziness in this industry we don't know anything about? And now look where we are. It's great.
Yeah, I follow your Facebook page, and I see people commenting on some of your Facebook posts that I knew from way back in my early podcasting days.
Yes.
Cliff Ravenscraft, I noticed
Oh
that
my God.
Brian Orr,
Yes.
Brian Orr I met here. These are people I met at podcasting conferences, really, years and
Oh, what was it called? Blog World. Remember Blog World?
Blog World. Yes, yes.
That's in the back in the day.
Oh my gosh, Darren. Oh, what was his name? Darren.
I could see
Oh,
his face,
yeah.
but
But anyway, yes. When blogging was the first thing before podcasting. So yeah, we do go a long way back.
we do. Love everybody.
Last year you came on, we talked about AI because you had posted something on LinkedIn about, I think it was, your ChatGPT is showing. And I jumped on that because that was at a time when people were just beginning to really get into ChatGPT and they weren't using prompts, and it was so obvious.
Yeah.
Although having said that, Amber, we're hiring at the moment, looking to hire a VA, and I got an email from a prospective VA yesterday, and we'd already talked to this guy, and then I get this email, which is this long, very professional, and I took it into an AI checker, and it said, "Yep, 100% ChatGPT."
Yeah.
So
It can be abused. I recently hired and had similar experiences, but I will say the person that I ended up hiring, I assumed that she used ChatGPT to respond, like the cover letter or whatever. But what I've found with her and what I was gunning for and what I would recommend most people look for is like an AI first resolution type of attitude. And so I was actually like, okay, cool. So I know you're using AI. What does that mean for me?
Mm-hmm.
And like we had our stand-up meeting this morning, and she was telling me about something as she walked me through the process. And I'm just like, how did you figure all of this out? Like I'm fast-minded. Like my brain moves at a clip, and she just outspun me. And I was like, okay, thank you for getting that done in record time. Also, thank you for being proactive. And also, thank you for figuring out all the solutions to the probably 38 problems that popped up as you did this. And now it's just magically done. But it's because we're using AI as a standard in the business, which
Mm-hmm.
I know you're implementing in so many short term rental companies across the world.
Yeah, I need to know where you found this person from because I'm recruiting at the moment. This is not easy. This is not easy.
It's not. I will say, obviously, there's different companies in our industry that help find offshore talent or whatever. Of course, better talent can help do that as well. I go straight to Upwork, but
Mm-hmm.
I've been hiring international talent for the 13 years I've been in
Yeah.
business. So I know what to look for and I know like the idiosyncrasies. And then you have to be able to know how to narrow it all down. I don't know where
I'm
to.
really glad you found your person.
She's amazing. Shout out to Patty. We did a whole, so from the last time that we talked, I lost my in-person executive assistant because her husband had a last minute. They just built their house, just built their pool. We're like settling in. And then Four Seasons called and was like, hey, we've got like this executive position on the opening team. I was like, who says no to an opening team for the Four Seasons? Not her husband. And we were like cheering him on, but that meant she had to leave. So I lost her. And what I did all last year, which this listeners you might find interesting, is I didn't backfill that position until I knew exactly what I needed in the new world of doing business in AI, and how am I retrofitting my offerings, and how am I retrofitting how I do business day to day, and then what does that look like for a human being to be responsible for the AI forward way of doing business. And now let's go look for that talent. That's
Oh,
different than just go find a VA.
that is so interesting. So we've just wrapped up a couple of webinars that we've been doing because we're creating this AI ambassador program.
I, I might have scoped that out. I might have done a little stalking on you.
Yeah, there's two programs. There's one we're doing for new entrants to the business to help them learn about the short-term rental business, and then the other one's the AI ambassador program. So we've just done these three webinars, and it's
It's
about the
the best.
foundations. It's about the foundations. You've got to have your foundations in place before you do anything in AI. You can't just throw in a prompt and expect AI to know who you are. So you give it your information. And I know we're going to be talking about brand voice, but you've got to tell it who you are before you expect it to deliver something that sounds like you.
Oh boy. And then again
Yeah.
and again. And I will say, the other thing that I've learned in the year since we've chatted about AI on your show is we are not there. I'm not worried about my job going away. I don't know about you. We are so far from there. And it's interesting that you and I both program gems and GPTs, and we've got all these custom things, and they have these knowledge bases. And if you're unfamiliar with that term, knowledge just base just means the information that Heather was saying you need to share with your AI tool so it knows what to pull from. Even then, it comes back with disconnected, inaccurate, made up facts to fit the narrative
Mm-hmm.
that you're looking for. And so you're constantly having to check it. And we had this conversation before. You have to treat your AI like an intern and not like a CMO because it just doesn't know. So while we've come a long way, part of the consistency of your brand voice has to be your consistency in checking it. It has to be your consistency in challenging it, your consistency in using the same language and the same
Mm-hmm.
terms and the same word tracks over and over again. So that repetition is actually breeding the trust and reducing the cognitive function required to make a decision in favor of your brand.
Yeah, it's not once and done.
Oh man.
It's
Do you cuss at your AI? Because I try really hard to be gentle and kind as if it's a real person, but there are times where I'm just like, Are you even serious today? I'm done. I can't deal with you. Please, somebody find me a human with a human brain that can understand what it is that I'm asking you to do.
Yes, all too often, in fact, if I'm out on a walk and the dog's running ahead and I can pick up a ball mindlessly and just keep throwing the ball, and then I'm having this long voice conversation with my AI and saying, "Are you stupid?" And then I've got to step back and go, "Oh, I've got to be nice to my AI because you never know.
Right.
You never know when it's going to."
Well, you never know. I made a commitment because it told me at first, like way back in the day, I don't think it does this anymore, but it said that I didn't have to say thank you. And I was like, hey, first of all, I'm a born again Southerner. So yes, I do because I have manners. But the other thing is because I do talk so much to AI like you do, like we have full on voice conversations with them. If that's my habit every day, I don't want to get in the habit of speaking ill towards anything because now that's my habit. So I try not to lose my temper with my AI, but boy, some days it's
Yeah, I'm fully with you then. So we've talked a little bit about this, but how's your approach to using AI in business changed since last year? We talked about your AIM framework, the assist,
mhm.
infuse, and monitor. So perhaps you could go back and just explain what that was, because that's what you're using for working with ChatGPT. How's it
Yes.
changed?
I think, first of all, ChatGPT is not the end all be all anymore. Like people have gotten pretty bowdy with some other tools. And I have some people who love Grok, and I have other people who love Claude. And I have a lot of people because of the Google ecosystem who are now using Gemini. And I'm using Gemini increasingly a lot as well. So before we were looking at ChatGPT specifically for writing content or somehow creating content. It could be writing, it could be script, whatever. And so you do want to aim. So you have to treat it like an intern. So first we're going to assist it. We're going to give it its knowledge base. Hey, fresh just fell off the back of the turned up truck. Let me tell you about my brand. Let me tell you, if I was a human being, if the brand was a human being, then this is what the brand would sound like if it was a human. Here's the type of personality our brand would have if it was your friend. Here's the tone of voice, and here's what each tone means. So if I say friendly, that could mean different things to different people. So we always want to define that. So that's the assist. Okay. So we're going to put all that in. That's just the baseline information. And then we're going to say, and so I need a LinkedIn post or I need an intro for this person that I'm introducing at a conference, whatever it is. It comes back. And it's still, even though you've told it everything, it's still a robot. And so you need to continuously infuse your brand personality into whatever it spits out, like zhuzh it up a little bit. If it's too choppy, which we see all the patterns of AI. So we know the M dashes, we know the contrast language, we know like the simpatico type sentence structure. And so you're going to just have to blow all that up and be like, no. And that's also when I like to go back in and I share it back to it and I say, what did I change? Tell me what I changed and tell me why you think I did. And so now it's going to regurgitate back to me those things. I'm like, okay, that's the brand. So remember that. And then I might make a little bit of an adjustment to my brand voice guide as well as things develop. So that's the other thing is in your knowledge base, all of that stuff, that's your brand voice guide. And so that's another document that continuously needs to be updated so it stays accurate and also in sync with how AI is evolving and receiving that information. So we have assist, then we have infuse once we get something back, and then it's monitor. We got to continuously monitor for accuracy, monitor for those phantom decisions it makes on your behalf to just make your argument for you. And so I often ask, cite your sources, or that source was from 2021. That's a pretty long ways away for the clip that we're going in society right now. Is that relevant in 2026? Like that's the monitor part. So taking a breath there. First, we aim to stay on brand, assist, infuse, monitor. But that's not enough anymore, Heather, and you know that as well as I do. Because everything is AI now. And so I'll give you an example of what I call my Tumblr. So I'm working on tons of 2026 operating plans. I have the Vanguard Council. It's a peer advisory group for founders who are leveraging their personal brands to get business brand results. So one of the things that I'm doing with them, and it's a small group, a lot very hands-on, is helping them cast the vision for their 2026. And so I take all of their things, their brand voice, all their personality assessments, which the brand voice I do over time manually to make sure that I'm hearing things and not just leaning on AI. I'm taking their calendars. I'm taking their life's priorities. I'm taking their energetic makeup. Like numerology, astrology. I'm taking all of it. I'm doing everything. I'm putting it into a Tumblr, and then I'm saying what's right for this person when. And when are the busy seasons that we need to back off of this? And what are the conferences that are going to be a priority? And how often are we posting? Into what channels are we posting? And who's our audience? Who's our audience? Take your guest reviews, take your owner emails, take your team back and forth communication. That's your brand. That is how you talk. Those are the real problems that your people are facing. That is your brand. And when you can create, I'm all about systems, as I know you are. If you can create a system that just really solidifies your brand and what's happening and your goals and what you're trying to accomplish and your calendar and the busy seasons and all that kind of stuff, now we're macro. We're not like, I want to write a blog post. Now we're looking at brand in the context of where are we going holistically for the big picture, and then you can start using it month over month, week over week, in the day for the day. But I like to cast that long game before I even get into the details
I
anymore.
love all of those things that you put into that Tumblr. Calendar was the first thing. Why would you put calendar? What does that mean? And then astrology and personality types. That just, you're not leaving anything out.
Nothing. Nothing. Because listen, guys, we're heading into some times. I'm just telling you energetically right now, we're about to walk into some craziness, and there's lots of things happening and on so many different levels. And so my people are going to be equipped. And I have some people who are like, okay, yeah, that stuff, it always works. So just tell me what to do when because it always works. And they don't even care. And other people are like, explain exactly what that means for me. And now they're starting to learn more about who they are as a person, how they interact with other people. And so for me, AI is, but for me, branding is so much more than branding. So AI is a tool that allows our expansive creative nature to find structure. And so you and I are limitless thinkers. We have expansive thinking, and that can be frustrating in business because you don't know how to corral it all and put it step by step. So I'll give you another example. I took my calendar from January 1st to Friday, and then I said, tell me every task that I was supposed to do, every meeting that I had. And then I have another layer that I put with it, which automatically puts questions underneath each piece. And then I said, okay, these are the things I need to follow up on. You can even put your meeting notes, your companion notes, all the different AI stuff, whatever you've got hooked up to your Zooms or Googles or whatever you're doing, and throw that in there. And then I was like, okay, great. Now forecasting my next 2 weeks, tell me my appointments, what's due, all those things, and tell me how to prepare. And so now I have this master document that I'm using to work through with my VA to say, in the day for the day, this is the highest priority. This is what has to get done by February 10th. And here's how we're doing all of it. What I love what you're doing and why I'm always, if someone's, who does AI? I'm like, Heather, because I want them to have you structurally integrate AI into their brand because your brand is more than just your brand voice that is committed to marketing or guest communication or homeowner communication. Your brand, this is something David and Gotti and I both geek out on and agree on. Your brand is operationally what you're doing on the inside of it. And so, however your team is moving is creating the guest experience. AI is equally as important in your daily operations and relieving stress of the team and making things more efficient so they could put more human time in the relationship building, in the connection, in the communication, and less on the planning and scheduling and the menial things that can go away with AI, then elevate your opportunity to have a more high touch brand, which is
Hmm.
very important in hospitality.
So somebody listening to this is going, well, that's all well and good, but this is
Yeah.
this sounds very complicated. How can how can somebody who is in that do it myself frame of mind begin to pass all this out and get it into such a format that they can start doing something to use AI to make their lives better, to make their communications better, and to enhance their brand, if they even have a brand in the first place?
They have a brand, whether they have defined their brand or somebody else has defined their brand is up for debate. But great question. And I'm going to take you to my ChatGPT likes to bust my chops. We have a very friendly relationship. And he likes to tease me that I'm the queen of frameworks and that I will create a framework for a framework. That's my ADHD desperately trying to cling to some kind of a process. But my other framework is align, position, convert. And so when you're thinking about your brand, you need to think about those three buckets. And when you're like, oh, what did Amber put into her Tumblr? And that feels so overwhelming. The real answer is I can't tell you exactly what goes in your Tumblr, but I can tell you that you need to align with the core of who you are. So think about what are the documents, what are the clues that might tell somebody else who's never, an alien has landed and you're trying to introduce your brand to this alien. Where do you go find things to show this alien what your brand is about? Again, we've talked about some of those high level things. It could be current or past collateral materials. It could be guest communications. It could be your listings. It could be website copy. It could be communication with your homeowners. Put all of that in a line. What are your goals? How are you going to align your actions with your goals? Because your brand, the brand exists to create money or support a cause. We're going to say create money because we're in short term rentals and we're trying to make money off of lodging. So you have goals. Your brand actions should be actively pursuing those goals. So never leave your goals out. So once you're in that align phase, and then I'm going to introduce a tool in a second, but I want to get through the framework first. I told Heather when we first got on the call, I was like, I have a cheat code. I made a last minute decision. Can we talk about my cheat code? Because it's going to make it easier on them. So hold, please. But the bigger conversation is there's a lot that you can put in the align. And then once you know who you are to your core, and this is what we stand for, here's our mission, our vision, our values, this is what we're gunning for, these are our goals, this is how we want to be known, this is how we talk to people. Now we need to position that. Where are we positioning you? Well, where are your people? Where are your homeowners? Where are your guests? Who are your guests? You're not, I know I use this all the time, but you're not going to go find you a catfish out in the Pacific Ocean. And you're not going to catch it with stinky chicken liver out in the ocean. It's not going to work. They don't swim there. So you're taking your time, you're taking your resources, you're taking your bait, and you're going to a body of water that the fish you want ain't even swimming in.
Hmm.
So when we're
Love that.
positioning, the number one thing is how do I position myself where my audience is? What lure does my fishy need in order to take a bite on my hook? And that lure is going to be emotional connection. It's not your offer, it's their emotional connection to your offer. And if you can make that, then we need to decide, are we converting? So that could be so many different things. That could be looking at your social media conversions. That could be if you put something out on your social media and you're like, this is the guide to the 2026 guide to a perfect stay in Branson. And then they download that. Now you've converted and you've gotten their email address. Where are you tracking that? Because if we're not measuring our effort, the positioning,
Hmm.
then how do we know if our positioning is working or if we're trying to catch a catfish in the Pacific Ocean? So that's where we start adjusting things. I go quarter to quarter. So set up your AI tool, come up with your plan, align your brand with who you truly are, position it where you can create emotional connection, where your people hang out, and then track your conversions every quarter. So then the next quarter you can say, that didn't really work. I don't want to put my time there. Or this really worked. Let's figure out how we could do more of that or scale that or put maybe more money into our Google ads or whatever is actually working for you. Backing into the align, I'm going to give you a cheat code. So I've been a Fascinate certified advisor with the How to Fascinate assessment for, I don't know, 8 or 9 years. And I'm their, what am I? Their fractional Fascinate certified advisor director. So actually, I know, because Sally Hogshead, to your time, New York Times bestselling author, she's come have a girls. We had a slumber party. We got our nails done. And before I knew it, I was fractionally working for her company. So she's a client now and I love it. And I live and breathe the system. It's my second language. So this is a free assessment. So I will give Heather she'll put it in the show notes. But the reason why I want you to take this is I want you to think of your brand like a person. And so we need to define of the 7 advantages, what language does your brand speak? So there's 7 advantages. The first one is passion, the language of relationship. The second one is innovation, the language of creativity. The third is power, the language of authority or confidence. Power is that person walks in the room
Hmm.
and you're automatically they're in charge. Prestige is the language of excellence. Mystique is the language of listening, which could be like body language. I need to do a full one on you because I think I've got some ideas about how you might score. Alert is the language of details and anticipation, so they're always looking around the corner. Trust is the language of consistency and stability. Did I miss any? No, I did not. So let me give you some examples. If I know that I'm a passion brand, and I am, so I create warm emotional connections. That's what I do. And then once I'm in there, I'm like, oh, you got to change that. Let me give you some hard feedback here because like you already know and trust me, right? So I get away with that because that's my
Hmm.
brand. But my number one buyer is power. Okay, so now we're cooking with gas because it's not just about who I am. Now I get to be like Nike. Now I get to be like Nike. I'm still just do it. I'm still an aggressive brand, but when I'm looking over here and I'm like, oh, soccer mom looking for athleisure wear, we're not having the same conversation as I'm having with the performance athlete trying to shave a
Hmm.
second off their time. Different conversations. I'm the same brand. So if I know this about myself and I know that the way that I emotionally connect with people is through true emotional connection and relationship and just depth. I still need to change how I do that talking to a power personality because I know that a power personality likes not flowery language, but bullet point summaries. So I'm going to come in with my warmth, but I'm still going to set back and I'm going to let that person take over the conversation. We all know I still am in charge of the conversation, but they think they are, and that's really all I care about. Okay. So now we're being smart. I'm going to give you another example. A lot of people in our industry have never played in the M&A space before, ever. And yet they're talking to these roll-up companies,
Hmm.
right? They're talking directly to private equity. They've never had these conversations before and they're trying to position themselves for purchase or acquisition. Okay, so if I know that I'm a hospitality passion brand and I just want to tell you about all the wonderful guest stays and I want to tell you about that one time that this homeowner sent us this, guess what, guys? They don't care. They speak the language of alert. Show me your P&L. What's EBITDA?
Hmm.
Let's go. They don't care about your stories. They might act like they care about your stories to close the deal, but they don't care about your stories. They care about your P&L. So you need to be speaking the language of alert. I'm still going to be warm and passionate. We're still going to have all the stories, but this story right here, let me tell you what that converted to in revenue. And so this is our brand
Hmm.
standing because of these things. I'm now talking details with you and I'm talking looking around the corner. I'm talking about what you can anticipate and expect, but I'm not reducing my warmth. I'm not reducing my hospitality. I'm just looking at you saying, I know what you need to hear and how you need to hear it for you to emotionally, because even our acquisition friends, and I work a lot in M&A, I'm the private equity queen on the branding side. So like I hear their conversations and I hear about them laughing about you. So let me be your guide and tell you they get frustrated
Mm-hmm.
when you don't speak their language, and they feel empowered, or they feel like I'm having a great day, or they feel like, oh, this particular deal is actually going to perform because you're using language that makes them feel secure in the deal. And that's the difference.
Yeah. This is fascinating, obviously. But it takes
She chose that word for a reason.
but it takes me back. How long have I been in this business? 30 years. Takes me back
Jeez.
20 years or so ago when we were talking about it in very simple terms. And we were
Yes.
saying you don't just have one owner, you have that family person who is looking at this. It's a family house and they want you to look after it in a particular way. And they want you to look after it. They want to understand the connection that you have, that the owner has with that house. And
Hmm.
then maybe there's an investor who, and that's
Hmm.
latterly, maybe in the last 10 years, more investors have come in saying, I don't care what you do with it. Furnish it with whatever you want. I'll give you, just tell me how much it costs and tell me what the.
You're managing my asset. You're not actually hosting my hospitality.
Exactly, exactly. So we were talking about this such a long time ago, but you're taking it and ramping this right up.
Well, and
So,
talk about the ramp up, because now that we have this fundamental information, so maybe we have a couple different homeowner personas and we know one's power and maybe one's trust. They just want to get their
mm-hmm,
checks. They want their check. They just want consistency over time. That's what they're looking for. And that's the language you need to speak to. You need to show them how consistent you are. So if we know these, so we've got our guest personas, we've got our homeowner personas, maybe we have an investor persona, maybe we have a community
mm-hmm,
persona, maybe we have a government regulation persona. Who knows? But now that we have those personas, now that's the storytelling time. So now we're developing all of our AI responses. We are training the chatbot on our website to sound a certain way. The way that we program our guest arrival or our pre arrival email series leading up to their stay, that's going to be a very specific sound because we're programming it based on these people are, maybe you have a short-term rental and you're in like Silicon Valley. Okay, you're probably going to be speaking the language of innovation. So you better show
mm-hmm.
creativity. And so everything that you do related to your business now boils down to this recipe of who am I and who are they and what's the message that connects those two things. And now it's just another formula. But you got to go back to, you got to look at your customer journey or your homeowner journey, your guest journey. And you've got to, from the minute they find out about you to the minute that they are not on your radar, at least for that stay or that season or whatever, you need to think about every single touch point and what is their emotional experience with your brand along the way. We're doing in my business. We switched from HubSpot, which was painful. I love me some HubSpot, but I had to get out of Kajabi and all kinds of stuff. So we're in Go High Level now.
Oh, so us
With
too. We've done that same. We went from active campaign, and yeah, we're now in ClickUp and Go High Level, and yeah, things change. Things
Did
change.
you ever do Infusionsoft over the years?
We
It's
we
called Keep
did
now.
very early
Yeah.
on, and then we dabbled in HubSpot. And it's just no Go High
Yeah.
Level. I just love.
Me too. I was like, why didn't I do this forever ago? But anyways, so we're in there and it's set up, but I was telling my team member this morning, I was like, none of this sounds like me. And so if you get an email confirmation for your appointment with me, that should be on brand.
Hmm.
That should sound like me. It shouldn't be the automated, just whatever's in there. And so you need to think about that. And the more you build an emotional connection, the more you are training their brain to remember you, to have favorable memories of you, and to rebook with you or to renew their owner operator agreement with you. It's all about building trust.
Yeah. So we'll talk a bit more about this. The fascinate. What did you call it? Cheat sheet. Cheat sheet.
Yeah, it's my cheat code
All
for
right, cheat
everything.
code. Okay, we'll come back to that in a sec because I just want to step back a bit and just go back to ChatGPT, custom GPTs. You've talked about custom GPTs and gems. Are you still using them? Is this something that's still a core part of your systems?
I am, and I'm moving over to Gem because Dr. Mary Hayes, I want to make sure I got that, double check me. Amy Highnote found her, and she's been at the DARM conferences, and I have a big girl crush on her because she's wildly smart. And she did an entire, and I think this is all like available to watch on VRM Intel. So go back and watch her deep dive into Gemini gems and
Mm.
why this matters and why the Google ecosystem matters so much. But the lazy way, so there's more if you want to like really dig into it. But for me, who is definitely not at her level, I still do use my GPTs. And so I've got one that helps my Brandage Accelerator. I'm in beta. We're about to launch, so you're going to be in there soon. It gives them a way to create their own brand voice guides,
Hmm.
but it's on my terms. So it's still your bumpers when you go bowling. So they don't go all over the place. It's done exactly the way that I want them to do it. And so that's what it is. Like you can't have me, but you can have GPT me.
No,
And
it was. I was just. It's your analogies. I love it. The bumpers when you go bowling and catfish. Those are sticking in my head.
listen, I have ADHD, so if I don't have something colorful to attach a memory to, it's not going to be remembered. So everybody gets to benefit from me being a lunatic. But anyways, the other thing is I still do, my very first custom GPT I ever made was Amber's marketing assistant.
Hmm.
And there is no AI model that I use, and I use a lot of them, that sounds more like me than that one because I've been using it for a year and a half. And so if I get frustrated, like if I'm working on Claude or if I'm working on Gemini, I go there and I'm like, would you just fix this? And then it's fixed like that. And then I have other things that we do in the business that we create the GPT for, and then we just go to it and it's a tool. It's anything else. And I'm going to pull it up so I can like give you an example. Let's see here. Okay, so for example, I have a relationship GPT. I study relationship because I think it's important in general. Poor men that I date, oh my gosh, if they like ever knew how much I study relationship, I'm like, you're so out of your league on this. It's sad, but, and I don't mean that in an ugly way. It's just that when you literally study human behavior and relationship, it's okay. And the reason why I do it though is because that's what we're creating is relationship with our customers.
Hmm.
And so if you look at it that way and you start looking at what people's hangups are in their relationships and what their mental hangups are, it's you are who you are and you is what you is, no matter where you go, there you are.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And I would encourage you to do something like me. So I created a custom GPT and I filled it with the Gottman Institute. They're like the most renowned. They've studied the most relationships, thousands of couples over the course of many years. And they have this fantastic body of work that I use in the Machete Leadership Academy. And we have it here. And so we use this for interpersonal things. We use this when trying to solve problems for customers even if it's like on their own team,
Hmm.
we use this if there's conflict. Let's just say a homeowner has a problem and they are losing their mind over something and the property manager needs to know how to handle it. Well, you could put it into that GPT and you can understand what emotionally might be going on based on the language that they use in their email and how that might match to one of the models that I use. So you can identify what is the emotional trigger here and how do I soothe for that specific
Hmm.
emotional trigger.
That is brilliant. And I love how you say how I soothe for that emotional trigger.
We're
Because,
just trying to reduce friction.
yeah, because most people are using the same thing over. And
Thank you for your complaint. We
yes,
take every complaint seriously.
yes,
Great. That's
yeah,
what they wanted to hear.
yeah.
When I say I showed up and the housekeepers still had urine on the toilet seat and my great grandmother's painting was in a closet. Okay, we got issues here. We have a we didn't hit the mark issue. We have a you walked in on something gross issue. and you have a deeply personal artifact
Mm-hmm.
that was treated like it was an IKEA piece of furniture. Those are lots of emotional triggers there. And so if I'm your average assistant, guest manager, or whatever the title would be, am I in a place in my life where I have enough lived experience in the relationship department and I have been to therapy and I know why people behave the way that they do? Do I have all of that in my toolkit? No, probably not. I'm 25. But this GPT can help me. And that's the difference. And now, what does your brand feel like? What is the brand experience of that one communication?
Mm-hmm.
And how can that make or break them renewing with you? Like, how much money is attached to that one communication? Is it worth programming a GPT beyond the superficial to try to save a, what's the average?
I'm bringing in Brooke Fouts here.
Yeah, I know. We need to get Brooke on the show.
But
He'll
that's
tell
it.
us.
It's the lifetime value. It's the lifetime value of that owner, and I know that. I look back into my company that I ran for 20 years, and we still have one owner that's been there for 18. So that's one heck of a lifetime value, and every owner is has that potential. And if you make one
And
mistake,
And because Brooke's doing his job at Venturi and co-parent and everything, you know that everyone in your market is trying to go after that home because they know that home is a highly profitable
mm-hmm,
home. They know that the occupancy is going to be high, that you can charge a lot for it because of the size or whatever. So they're doing their stuff trying to emotionally connect with them. Meanwhile, your 25-year-old is saying, "Thank you for bringing this to our attention." Is that really how you want to show up? That's like you at your best? And I'm not busting on any young leaders at all. Heavens to Betsy, if you're surviving in this wild world that we're in, you're a total badass, just baseline, okay? But the reality is, we expect things of our team. We expect our team to think and behave like we do, and they just don't have the same experience or
mm-hmm,
the same perspective because they're not going to think like an owner. They're not thinking lifetime value. They're thinking, this is a problem. It's a checklist on my to dos of today. I clock out at 5
mm-hmm.
and I need to handle it and put a check in the box.
Yeah.
Also, I'm in hospitality. I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. But at the end of the day, how they're looking at it is different than how you're looking at it. So let's empower them with those type of tools.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure you do this a ton in the kind of work that you do in terms of like how you're setting up their systems and whether you have a gem or a GPT or an agentic type situation that's pulling from different reports and creating things, the AI tools inside of things. So let's even talk about like Boom, AI native. Okay. Boom needs everything scheduled according to your brand of voice to make emotional connection because it's all talking to itself and outside and it needs that guidance. So you could sound generic AI because it's an AI native tool, or it can sound like you. Likewise, you've got like Breezeway, you've got all these other tools that are starting to really put their own spin on the AI side of things, and those need to be set up according to your brand. So when I think about it, brand is the basis of literally everything because if AI is going to be involved in literally everything, then the brand is going to be infused and embedded in everything.
Yeah, it takes it away from that feeling. Here's AI. I'll just step back and let it do it. There's
Right.
nothing for me to do because it's there doing it. And
Yeah, you're going to
that's
fail if you
where,
have that attitude.
yes, and I hear this attitude. It's, no, you've got to do the work beforehand. You've got to collect all this information. You've got to think differently. You've got to think about who you are, who you want to sound like, who you do sound like, and if that's what you want to convey. But you've got to do the work at the front.
And let me just give you, I'm going to give you an idea of what I have, like just my Vanguard Council members. So they do a brand voice development sprint. This is 5 consecutive days for 10 to 15 minutes a day. I have them fill out a personal origin and alignment profile, 45 to 60 minutes. All of their business details, 20 to 30 minutes. Goal alignment assessment, 10 to 15 minutes. Stakeholders evaluation, Who's watching you? Who are we influencing? Who are we communicating with? 15 to 20 minutes. Personal brand risk assessment, 15 to 20 minutes. And then all of the assessments, another 10 to 15 minutes. That's before they even
Hmm.
get an appointment with me. They've got to do all of that work, hours worth of work, before they even get to talk to me. That's how much we need to
Yeah.
understand to align so that you're not going out to position yourself out of alignment with who you really are, the value you really bring to the marketplace, and the experience that they're going to have of your brand because you're emotionally connecting with them.
Yeah, this is perfect. And oh my gosh, we're coming up on 50 minutes here. We've said this before. We could talk for hours.
I know, but you're going to be one of my first guests when I launch my next podcast, which I said March. Probably not going to happen in March.
I saw that you'd mentioned that to Cliff Ravenscraft in a message, and I thought this is something I'm watching out for. Can't wait to see that. Can't wait to see
Oh,
what's
you're going to be
coming
one of my first
next.
guests. If you'll do me the pleasure, of course.
I would love it. I would love it. Last question then. You're interacting with people all the time in this industry, leaders, team members. What do you wish more of them understood about AI in relation to the brand? And I think we've probably covered most of this, and I think we could go back and say, you understand that there is work involved. It's not just AI doesn't do it for you.
I think we're still at the point of saying, hey, AI doesn't have to be scary.
Mm-hmm.
If you could put your own loose framework, you could use mine. I know Heather has some. You could go out there and find 1,000 different things. But what I beg of you to not do is look at AI like a prompt machine.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get excited when you get somebody who sends you an email with 38 AI prompts that they literally just got off of AI so that they have content for you, who haven't thought those through, that are not designed specifically for your business, that might be a little fun party trick, but that's not the use of AI. So let's not be afraid of it. And then let's be strategic with it. Put together how you're going to use AI. What's the end game that we're looking for? What's the end result that we want AI to address? And then we're going to back into the plan for that. But the backing into the plan for that part is your specific framework. At ABC Vacation Rental Company, this is how we set up AI processes. So it's consistent and we're not in the Wild West.
Mm-hmm.
That was a really long answer.
No,
Get your system together.
it was a great answer. Amber, tell us a little bit more about Amber Hurdle Consulting, what you do, and where people can find you.
Well, I genuinely believe that where we're going as a society is going to require that we're able to trade on our name alone. We have witnessed the typically stable large companies lay off thousands upon thousands in droves. We've seen it happen in our own industry. We've seen the government lay off thousands upon thousands of people, and that's used to be the guaranteed thing. So if nothing's guaranteed, what can we guarantee? I can guarantee knowing and articulating my value. So I have turned all of my attention to personal branding, but I want people to think about it as their reputation currency. I want you to think about your reputation is your currency in this new world that we're moving into. And if the fit hits the shan, you better be able to know what you can barter for. Let's just be real. Like, we don't know what's going to happen. You know what I mean? And I don't mean to be a doomsdayer, but whether it's like, I need to be able to articulate my value to stay in the game and keep a job, I need to be able to articulate my value because now suddenly I found myself as a freelancer, or I'm going to buy a franchise because I just got let go and I have a little money in the bank, so let me do that. I'm going to get an iTrips. Maybe that's it. Or it could just be that we get to a point where we don't even know what our actual currency is going to be. I don't know if you've been watching the world the past couple of weeks, but things are weird. So this is a long way of saying Amber Hurdle Consulting. I still do speaking. If people need brand guides made, I'm still happy to do that. Private equity, I hear and see you. But by and large, I'm spending the majority of my time with Brandage Accelerator. It's $97 a month. It's a do it yourself. I'm going to show you how to do it. Align, position, convert. You're going to do it on your own. We have monthly deep workshops. You'll have the ability to ask me questions. I will be involved, but just the access to me isn't quite as much. And then I have the Vanguard Council, which of course I started in the vacation rental industry because I do play favorites. And I'm helping those founders figure out how to reach their goals by leveraging their personal brand and using their own
Hmm.
visibility as the founder to propel visibility for the brand and customers and everybody that they need. Beyond that, you can go to amberhurdle.com. We've started doing new content to warm me back up for the new podcast, but I would love for you to follow me on LinkedIn. That's where I'm most active. And then I'm on Instagram and everywhere else, of course.
So all those details are going to be on the show notes, of course, and I hope you'll get in touch with Amber because she's just such a truly lovely person. I love my
You are
time
too,
spent
Heather.
with you.
I love hanging out with you.
Just thank you so much for joining me. It's just been an absolute pleasure, and I'm going to go back and listen to this. I'm going to edit it mildly, but I will be listening to it as well while I'm editing. So there's a lot of gems. See what I did there? A lot of gems
Yeah, I
came.
saw what you did there.
A lot of gems came out of this conversation, so listen carefully, listen to it twice. And thank you once again, Amber, for joining me.
Thanks for having me.